Every day, thousands of Americans, mostly men, mostly black, are behind bars for the crime of being too poor, and Uncle Sam is the slave master. Let me explain. I am Alan Cohen, director of freefamily.org, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to getting the government out of our family, and author of America Solved, a New Family for the 21st Century. So, how is slavery still with us? And how did an idiotic government policy, the same policy we have today, cause the epidemic of fatherlessness in America? In the early 1960s, at the birth of the welfare state and the Great Society, poverty rates were falling dramatically, and most Americans were striving for the dream. After all you had to do was follow the rules, get an education, work hard, and success would come. Americans owned their own destiny. Every man, woman, and child had a purpose, a role to play. Not all Americans. Some were too poor, and Jim Crow laws stood as a wall against success in the black community. In 1962, as I explained in part 1 of this series, a federal government welfare policy made it a condition that the father could not be in the home for the mother to receive federal support. So mothers chose the check. Even after the Moynihan Report in 1965 on the black family urged a total reversal of this idiotic policy, the report claimed that the policy was destroying the black family. But Lyndon Johnson doubled down instead. The myth of father abandonment was born. The myth is that fathers left voluntarily. That myth continues today. Just ask former Ambassador Andrew Young. Young points to President Johnson and his rejection of the Moynihan Report as the sole cause, because humans will adapt, and welfare was survival, leaving fathers as paychecks, their purpose in question, their hope for security in doubt. Some men turn to religion, other men turn to pleasure, with personal happiness as the solitary goal. Of course, the percentage of children born outside of marriage skyrocketed. The nuclear family was fading in favor of multiple partners and single-parent households. They skyrocketed as well, especially in the black community, which, of course, caused welfare payments to also skyrocket. The destruction of the black family was at hand. Intentional or not, the government was to blame. Only a few escaped. Others turned to marriage as their salvation. But the 1970s gave us the no-fault divorce. Many, mostly the wives, saw themselves as trapped, seeking happiness as an entitlement. Divorce rates went off the chart, and the length of marriages plummeted. And since in the 1970s and 1980s, the courts granted the mother custody of the children in most cases, the fathers of America took yet another hit. They were seen only as providers, a check in the mail. Fatherlessness spread even further. Two families meant higher poverty rates, which meant an increase in child abuse. America ignored the common sense about fathers, and the American dream became an illusion. The government demanded the poor fathers pay back the welfare, further compounding the disaster it caused. Demanding the poor to pay for the mistakes of the federal government. Now we have debtors' prisons. They have become a reality in America. At the turn of the century, the 21st century, gender roles were changing. Mothers were working more, and dads, well, there was more staying-at-home dads. leading to a spike in single-father households. Yet, the federal government has not changed. It won't back down from its 53-year-old policy, its 53-year-old mistake. Fathers are just tax slaves under the whip of a government that will trick them, defile them, or anything it takes to prove the government is right. Hopelessness breeds despair, not responsibility. It also breeds violence. That's next time on The New Slavery. For freefamily.org, I'm Alan Cohen. Thank you for listening.